All right, so bringing in the new year, I decided to create a list of things that I regret doing, saying as a teacher. So I'm deciding to break this topic up into 2 parts. Today you get part 1. In a couple days, I'll give you part 2. 5 today, 5 in the next vlog. I purposely chose ones that I feel are applicable to a lot of new teachers, seasoned teachers. For those of you who do not know me, my name is Alexa Borota. I teach in New Jersey. I teach high school. I also taught middle school for 8 years. I create vlogs for teachers, new teachers, seasoned teachers. I want to be part of the encouragement, the help. This particular vlog though is going to be hard because who wants to talk about what they regret? There are some things I'm sharing with you that are going to be very cringy, especially in part 2. Part 2 might as well be teacher cringiness, but trust me, part 1 is just as good. Here are 5 things I completely regret doing as a teacher, as a new teacher. One of them is something I did last week. The first thing I regret as a teacher is talking too much, especially in the beginning. Okay, as a teacher, you're going to feel like there's so much to cover. And it doesn't matter if it's middle school, doesn't matter if it's high school, you're going to feel the need to repeat. You're going to think you're doing something wrong because sometimes students, they just don't get it or they need directions repeated to them. Let's just be real, there are some students, you could literally point to the right answer and they'll still get it wrong. So with that being said, you just find yourself talking a lot. I taught bilingual language arts for 3.5 years and it's scaffold, differentiate. And the result of that for me was talking a lot. The moment I realized I was talking too much, this particular class barely spoke English, but this one student knew enough English to say to me,
"Miss, you talk too much."
Just like that. Didn't even think this kid really spoke English that well. I 100% talked way too much. Clearly, it's a disservice to students. Please go into teaching understanding something about these kids' attention spans. You don't have to be a teacher to know. And I mean, you're draining your own energy. If you're anything like me and you teach 80-minute blocks, if you're talking for 30 minutes straight or 40 minutes or an hour went by and you still feel like one way or another you're talking, how can you continue that class after class, day after day without feeling super drained? We should not be doing that much work. Okay, next. 2, pushing my master's or furthering my education to the side because it never felt like the right time. If you want to continue your education in any way, shape, or form, it is never going to be the right time because as a teacher, you will never catch up. It's impossible. You could work 24 hours a day, and because a lesson can always be better and there's always an email, you will always have so many things to do. I knew from the beginning that I wanted my master's. I knew I wanted to continue my education, and I waited so many years because for whatever reason it was never the right time. It's not the right time now, but I'm doing it. I'm doing it at my own pace. And I'm dual certified. I'm in the process of getting my master's, and I wish that I just did it right off the bat. Bachelor's, master's, or if you want another certification in something, I urge you to just do it right away, because the older you get and you're growing a family, getting married, all of that, it makes it harder. It doesn't make it impossible, it just makes it harder. I could say that because of my little guys that I can't vlog today. You know, I can't vlog, I have my kids, it's too hard. No, you make it work. If you're a new and aspiring teacher, if you're graduating college and you think that life is going to slow down, it's not. Say hi. Say hi. My third regret as a teacher, I really struggled with isolating myself. I constantly felt like I had so much to do. I would work through my lunch. I never stopped working. I just never left my room. I left my room when I had to. PLCs, you saw me if I participated in something that was like an after school program or whatever, but just like on the daily, I just hibernated. I did not build relationships. I sort of did. I did with my team. I had a positive relationship with my team. I would see some teachers go out of the building and go for walks or walk up and down the hallway looking so calm. And I idolized those teachers. I'm like, how can you find time to go outside right now? I regret that. I want to say for 2 years, 3 years, I really isolated myself. I remember the wake-up call too that I had that I was isolating myself, the first one. Because in the beginning, I thought that I was doing what I had to do to be a good teacher. But about my second or third year in, I had a co-teacher. She was not a new teacher, but she was new to our school, and she's in my classroom, and she didn't really know any of the staff yet. Loved her. I couldn't help but notice that she was just a social butterfly. During her breaks, she was out. You know, she had lunch with other teachers. Meanwhile, I'm kind of watching myself in my room, doing my anchor charts, grading, updating grades, just working. And I would just watch her go and have lunch with other teachers, and I could have done that. I knew where they were having lunch. Let me tell you something if you don't already know this. When you feel like you have that much work to do, the best thing that you can do, even though it doesn't feel like it at the time, is leave, walk away, socialize, meditate. Whatever it is that you need to do to break away, go for a walk around the building. Do it, because when you come out of that, you have a new mindset. If you don't break away from that, should I call it anxiety? I'm just gonna call it anxiety. If you don't break away from that anxiety, it doesn't end. It's a non-stop cycle. The fourth thing that I regret is how much time I spent for years comparing myself to other teachers. There's nothing wrong with looking at other teachers and seeing what they do well and asking yourself how you can learn from them. That's part of why I create this channel. We're strong in some areas, we're weak in others. It's just how it is. I'm talking about feeling as if you need someone else's approval to think that you're doing a good job. Super! Looking back, I see that I was a great teacher. I scaffolded, I did the stations, I did the small groups, I had the computer programs going. I did all of the things, yet when I would walk into another teacher's classroom and I would see their awesome data analysis bulletin board, or I saw their setup for literature circles, I would start to doubt myself as a teacher if I was doing a good enough job, because I would see things that other teachers were doing and think that they were doing it so much better. That's ridiculous. And if you see anything that I'm doing that looks good, two things. One, just because something looks good doesn't mean that it works well. And two, there are 1,000,001 ways to teach. And out of those 1,000,001 ways, not one of them works for everybody. Something that I struggled with for years, stations. These days, stations, small rotating groups are the trend. It's the deal. And honestly, it's for good reason. If you set up good stations, your students are engaged. Well, I would try again and again and again, and something would always go wrong. You want to know why things were going wrong? Because I was comparing my stations and what I was doing to what other teachers were doing. I was asking myself the wrong question. Instead of asking myself, what is the dynamic of my class? What's our relationship? What's their relationship with each other? What level are they on? And then going from there, I was too busy trying to do it like everybody else, thinking that if I didn't do it the way that they were doing it, it was too low, or it wasn't rigorous enough. After 9 years, I'm still doing stations. But guess what? My stations do not look the same in each class, because my classes are different. My students are different. Comparison truly is the thief of joy. That teacher who you think has their life together, they don't. None of us do. And keep in mind that sometimes some teachers have been doing this a whole lot longer than you, and that you're not going to get there in a day, in a year, in 2 years. My life as a teacher really changed when I stopped comparing myself to what everybody else was doing. Hi, coming at you with regret number 5 from my classroom. My 5th regret was thinking that it was okay to devote all of my time and energy to teaching. In 2014, nobody was talking about self-care. Nobody was talking about teacher burnout. Back then, I don't recall any teacher vloggers posting anything. If they existed, I didn't know they were there. And it's not like us teachers go around telling everyone we need help and complaining. It's quite the opposite when you get a new job. I just had no idea what was normal and what wasn't, and I was working around the clock. I wish I could just go back to 2014 and give myself a big hug. This occupation, teaching, will get the best of you if you let it, and I was letting it take over my life, and I made excuses for myself. I kept thinking, it's my first year, I just have to get through my first year. It's my second year, I just have to get through my first full year as a teacher. Just excuse after excuse. Let me get specific with you. I would get to class an hour early every day. And many times I would stay until pretty much I was getting kicked out around 5:30ish, or I would leave not because I wanted to leave, but because I was embarrassed that the custodian at the time was seeing me in my classroom stay that late every single day. And then in the moments where I feel like I was caught up, I was still busying myself because we would be presented with some new idea or something going on in school or some kind of meeting that I felt like I had to learn about. I felt like there was something I had to do, something I had to sign up for. I was burnt out, still working. I never took a sick day, ever. I didn't start taking my sick days until I had kids. And you know, even nowadays with all of the positive talk around self-care and the awareness of teacher burnout being brought to everyone's attention, if you're paying attention to that, it's still easy to let teaching consume you. If you are a new teacher, don't fall into that trap. It's good to be prepared. I do think that you work a little harder your first couple years being a teacher, mostly your first year, but putting in a little more effort because you're new is not the same as burning yourself out. You never need to burn yourself out. For my top 5 cringy teaching regrets, either subscribe or check back in about a week. See you next time. Bye.